Imagine earning $65,000 a year and still feeling like you're broke. On paper, $65,000 sounds like a pretty good income. But after taxes, your paycheck is much smaller than that headline number. Then the bills start arriving. Rent takes a huge chunk. Your car takes another. And suddenly that $65,000 salary doesn't feel rich anymore. So how did I go from barely saving anything to putting my first $10,000 in the bank? The first step wasn't making more money. It was figuring out where my money was actually going. And that's when I discovered something uncomfortable. Small purchases weren't actually that small. A few dollars here, $20 there. And by the end of the month, hundreds were gone. So instead of trying to cut everything fun out of my life, I focused on the expenses that gave me the least value. I canceled subscriptions I barely used, reduced unnecessary spending, and stopped paying for convenience every single day. I wasn't trying to become cheap. I was trying to become intentional. And within the first few months, I had something I'd never had before. My first $1,000 saved. But saving my first $1,000 wasn't the hard part. The real challenge was doing it consistently. So I stopped relying on willpower and started using automation. Every payday, money went into savings before I had a chance to spend it. Even if it was only a small amount at first, I treated it like a bill that had to be paid. Then I created a separate account for the money I wasn't allowed to touch. That small change made saving feel less like a sacrifice and more like a normal part of life. And once the system was running, the next $1,000 became much easier. Once the system was in place, I stopped asking, what can I cut? And started asking, where can I save the most? Because saving $5 on coffee is nice, but saving $300 on a major expense changes everything. So I looked at my biggest recurring expenses first. I negotiated bills, compared insurance, and stopped automatically accepting the first price I was given. I also found ways to make a little more money without completely changing my life. Those changes freed up roughly $300 every month. And that $300 became the fuel that pushed me toward my $10,000 goal. At first, watching the balance grow from $2,000 to $3,000 felt incredibly slow. But then something unexpected happened. My car needed an expensive repair. For a moment, I thought all that progress was about to disappear. But this was exactly why I had started saving in the first place. I paid the repair from my savings instead of putting it on a credit card. And then I rebuilt the money I had used. When I finally reached $5,000, I realized something important. I wasn't just saving money anymore. I was building security. Once I reached $5,000, I had a new problem. How do I get to $10,000 faster? Then my income increased a little, and I made one decision that changed everything. I didn't upgrade my car. I didn't upgrade my apartment. I upgraded my savings rate. That meant every raise had a job before I had a chance to spend it. I also started putting unexpected money, like bonuses, refunds, and extra income, straight into savings. And suddenly the gap between $5,000 and $10,000 started shrinking much faster. I was no longer wondering if I could save $10,000. I was watching it become inevitable. Getting from $9,000 to $10,000 sounded easy, but that final $1,000 felt surprisingly difficult. At this point, I stopped looking for big changes and focused on small wins. I cooked a little more, spent a little less, and found extra money wherever I could. And every time I wanted to spend that money, I remembered what the $10,000 actually represented. It wasn't just money sitting in an account. It was the ability to handle the next emergency without panicking. Then one payday, the number finally crossed the line. $10,000, saved on a $65,000 salary. And for the first time, I felt like I was actually in control of my money. Hitting $10,000 didn't suddenly make me rich. It made me feel secure. A random car repair didn't feel like a financial disaster anymore. A bad month didn't mean reaching for a credit card. And more importantly, I stopped feeling like every paycheck was already spent before it arrived. The biggest change wasn't in my bank account, it was in my head. I finally knew that if something went wrong, I had options. And that freedom was worth far more than the things I could have bought with the money. If I had to start over, I wouldn't obsess over saving every single dollar. I'd focus much earlier on the three biggest expenses: housing, transportation, and food. I'd also build an emergency fund before worrying about making every investment decision perfectly. Because financial progress isn't about finding the perfect strategy. It's about having a system you can actually stick to. I'd automate the savings on day one instead of waiting until the end of the month. And every time my income increased, I'd increase my savings before increasing my lifestyle. If you're starting from zero, you don't need a perfect plan. You just need your first system. So if you're making around $65,000 a year, here's the simple framework I'd follow. First, track every dollar for the next 30 days. Second, cut the expenses that don't actually improve your life. Third, automate your savings on payday so you never have to rely on motivation. And fourth, whenever your income goes up, send the extra money toward your goal before your lifestyle catches up. You don't need to be rich to start. You need a system that makes saving easier than spending. If you're starting your own $10,000 journey, comment 10K below. And if you want more simple money strategies like this, subscribe.